Welcome back to the FanSpeak Network and another episode of Sibling Showdown, but this time it is for Underdog Battle Royale. That's right. If you haven't tried the Underdog Fantasies Battle Royale, you're missing out. Let me tell you, it is a super fun format, and we're going to break it all down here. I am Meg, and you can follow me at Megs08DFS. And of course, I'm joined by my sibling, my brother, Steve. You can follow him at Steve-O Speaks. Steve, we will get into all the details of Underdog Battle Royale, but how are you doing today? And are you ready to rip a draft again together?
Doing good. I really fallen in love with the Battle Royale format. It's fun, it's quick. Can do a bunch of these just throughout the week leading up to the slate. And, they're fun to sweat. They really are. So, I really enjoy the format and excited to be talking about it.
Yeah, I'm going to break it all down here in a minute. First, if you are new to Underdog and want to give it a try, I mean, obviously we had a ton of best ball content all summer long. We're going to have a ton of best ball content all spring and summer. Yes, we love doing best ball drafts on Underdog. But guess what? Underdog drafts are year round because now you're doing these Battle Royale kind of daily fantasy, essentially weekly drafts as Battle Royale. I'll get down to that in a minute. If you're new to Underdog, use code FANSPEAK for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. And of course, like this episode and subscribe to the FanSpeak Network so you know when we go live. We are going to do this Battle Royale show now every single Tuesday or early on in the week to go through our thoughts for Battle Royale that you can use to draft our week. And Steve does a weekly article that will be up by every Wednesday, hopefully Wednesday mornings. And so that way you'll be able to, see the article, see the show, see us do live drafts, and then hopefully you can apply it to a Battle Royale because it is so fun. So again, Underdog Battle Royale, and let me pull it over, Steve, it's a $5 buy-in. It's on obviously it's on Underdog Fantasy. And again, we spent tons of time here on Underdog Fantasy. And in my opinion, I believe yours too, it's the best format for, well, I think most things, but it was the best ball format, such a great user experience. And Underdog has been so awesome that they've been able to apply their awesome user experience to pick'ems and now these daily, weekly games. And so the Underdog Battle Royale is essentially like almost like a DFS format, like a weekly contest, but it's snake draft style. And so what it is you're drafting 6 positions with 6 people or 6 total people. So with 5 other people. So it goes so fast. You'll see how fast it goes when we do a live draft here in a minute. So it's a $5 buy-in. Top prize is $30,000 each week. And it's a very flat payout structure, which is super nice too. Like Steve said, super fun sweat. And what you're drafting is you don't have any bench players. You're drafting 1 quarterback, 1 starting running back, 2 starting wide receivers, 1 starting tight end, and 1 flex. And we'll get to what we think the flex is best used as in a minute. That's what you're doing in this Battle Royale. Just again, the whole snake draft format and then weekly. So you can use your DFS or weekly research that you're doing every week and apply it to Battle Royale rankings. But again, there's different types of edges that you can find in Battle Royale than you can since it is a new game. And again, Underdog has so many of these cool games that I love. I love these new types of games and trying to figure out what are the edges. So Steve, what do you think before we jump into draft are the edges in Battle Royale? I know, again, we'll get to the week-to-week edges, but just generally speaking, what are some of your strategies and edges that you try to kind of utilize?
Yeah, so, the couple main things. One is how we utilize that flex spot. And I think generally what we see is teams at the top utilize it for a running back. Is that the case every week? No, not necessarily. But for the most part, it is going to be the running back. This is, half point PPR. Touchdowns are so valuable. So if you're getting 2 running backs who are putting up big yards, get a couple catches, and get 2 or even 3 combined scores, that is what you need. And just very, very few receivers can match that. And sure, maybe the guys at the very top can, but a third receiver, you're not going to get 3 receivers to get those types of outputs. So now, depending on what the slate is, because remember, we are only talking main slates, so we're not talking any of the night games, any of the international games on those types of weeks. And of course, this week there's a bunch of buys, so it can vary slate to slate. But generally speaking, prioritizing running backs for the flex. I think the other thing is just realizing that ADP is, not super important. Good example is this past week. Um, the all the top quarterbacks were guys not really in the top seven, and like
Right.
you said, only 6 teams are being drafted. It's only 6 quarterbacks are being drafted,
Right.
and of those, Hurts and Tua were fine, but you wanted guys like Goff, you wanted guys like Ritter. Those guys were well below, where ADP would have
Rankings for
said.
right.
So, and
Exactly.
these rankings. So, you don't always have to trust that. I mean, guys like Drake London went, no, we're on nobody's radar.
Mhm.
So, just
Adam
recognize
Thielen,
that.
I am sure he was drafted in a lot,
Yeah, I mean, Adam
but
Thielen
he
was
certainly was lower than,
exactly.
and
Yeah, I
he
mean,
was
he
in
was like
the
wide
top
receiver
lineups.
3 or 4, and he was like basically a flex play or the last wide receiver taken. So,
Right.
absolutely. So it's like that kind of thing you need to be made aware of. And yeah, I mean, tight end, same thing. I mean, guys like Kyle Pitts were, doing so much more than a George Kittle, who, was like tight end 3 on terms of rankings. So,
Right.
yeah, it's just that type of thing you have to realize and recognize, and that also can help you because that does make you unique. It is a very large field tournament.
Right.
That's how you get a 30K
Yeah.
top prize.
60, yeah,
On
67,000 people or entries plus, and then, it's just a $5 buy-in, which is so nice too.
Yeah, so you just want to get a little unique, and you don't have to get crazy. You don't have to go all the way down and take
Right.
some like total crazy player. But yeah, it's taking a, just a solid, good starting receiver or a starting tight end, from maybe not a top 8 tight end, and that could be enough to separate you, or a running back in the flex that, what most people aren't doing, but maybe not like the number 7 running back. Maybe it's like the number 11 running back,
Yeah.
and that ends up being the guy.
Yeah, and so the first two things were, it doesn't have to be every single time, but we usually lean running back in the flex. So two running backs, so one quarterback, two running backs, two receivers, one tight end is usually how we build. Again, not every time if a receiver falls right or something like that, and it just makes sense, that's fine. But that's how we prefer, because just like in best ball drafts, we were drafting for the running back to usually hit the flex spot. We're just drafting as the two running backs so that hits the flex spot, because you don't have bench players, so that would hit the flex spot.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is ADP is not gospel here. So, but you don't have to go crazy all 6 spots, but don't feel like you have to use ADP as gospel. I think that's very important. The third thing I'd mention is, yeah, I think you still do want to stack and correlate just like you do in daily fantasy, just like you do in best ball season. But that's week to week, slate to slate dependent. Just like in DFS, it's slate to slate. Like, there are weeks like last week where you wanted a Dolphins onslaught, and you might have wanted, a Tua Mostert Hill if you could have pulled that off. And then that one was run back with Adam Thielen, I believe the winner. But it doesn't always have to, you don't always have to force a bring back. There's only 6 spots you're starting.
Yeah.
So you don't feel the pressure to force a bring back and let that like dictate how you draft. Again, I believe more in the team stacking, or like trying to stack my quarterback. Yes, I am trying to correlate and stack there, but I'm definitely not forcing a bring back. If it happens naturally, great. If it doesn't happen, again, I'm not going to burn a 6th spot just because I said I got to bring back in a spot. You know what I mean? So, so you kind of agree with all that.
Yeah, and just for an example, like, like in terms of raw points, I think Goff and Amon-Ra were actually better than
Right.
Tua and Tyreek, and of course you wanted 0 bring back from Tampa. So it was
Right.
just like, it's just they those teams probably didn't have Mostert. I mean, Mostert was the true key to the slate. So,
Right. Right.
to win it, that's who you needed. And but yeah, you look at the other guys who went off. Kyron Williams, yeah, you could have had him with Cooper Kupp, but you didn't want Matt Stafford. You didn't want anyone on the other side. So it's those types of things. Just very rarely, I think you want to stack a quarterback with a receiver or tight end, but very rarely do you want to bring back. There are some cases, the Thielen example, definitely, but
Mhm.
it's actually much rarer than what we see in like the DraftKings or even FanDuel
Sure.
formats, just because it's not as deep.
Yeah, it's only 6 spots that you're
It's only
filling.
six
Yeah.
spots, and we're just not going as deep. And because we're talking draft and not trying to fit salary, like when we pay up for these elite guys there, then we really have to pay down. And so it's easy to say, okay, who's the value play on the bring back? Who's this second receiver that we hope on the bring back that maybe pops off, or undervalued receiver, or
Right.
undervalued tight end on that team? So it's just easier there to justify a bring back in those types of cases and
Right.
hope that
Yeah.
it correlates more.
I actually do like, if you think a team, I mean, and we're in and if the NFL environment, not to have like a big long discussion about scoring in the NFL, because we could go on for hours about that. But in the NFL environment, you know, um, scoring's down, and the offenses, that we're lacking good, quarterback play overall outside the elites, and quarterback play, scoring is down, and so these are all things to consider. And so I do think if you find spots where like, obviously Miami's not on this slate because they play Sunday night, but when there are teams that are just outlier teams of offensive production, Detroit could be one on some weeks. Miami could be one in given spots. There are going to be some teams that you do want to maybe consider onslaughts of, 3 out of your 6 players are that, or hitting the quarterback, running back, receiver, or something like that. That certainly worked this week. And was, Mostert was the key. And usually it will be 1 or 2 guys that are just, lapping their field. And we'll get to that in a minute about like the nuances of slate to slate. So that's something to consider. Is one nuance slate to slate is I think sometimes onslaughts will apply some weeks, and other weeks not at all. You just might want to have like, one, stack with your quarterback and receiver or something like that, or quarterback, tight end, whatever. But in some slates, you may want to consider an onslaught because Miami's offense is, that whatever that week was, a week 3 where they scored 70. I'm sure on that slate, you wanted at least 3 Miami players. Yeah. So there are going to be weeks where I'm going to keep saying the Dolphins, because they've showed that example multiple times this year, and their offense is right now outpacing the greatest show on turf. So and they're outpacing the NFL by so much too, because since scoring and is down and quarterback play is down. So there are going to be some weeks where you want to onslaught, but it's week to week. And there are going to be, as I know pre-show we talked about, slate to slate, there are going to be guys at certain positions where you're like, okay, if this guy is just if I have a position to get a certain guy that I think is just going to do what Mostert did and just outlap the field, significantly, I want to, take him. On some weeks it might be a running back. It might not even be the top ranked running back, like in the case of Mostert. On other weeks, like I love Kupp this week, I think he could outlap the receivers. I think he has like a just absolute ceiling, nuke the slate type spot. You talked about Travis Kelce. Talk about that at the 1Z position.
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing this week. We just haven't had Kelce much on these slates so far, and just because they've had some night games and things like that. But Kelce this week, and even though we have guys like Andrews and Laporta at the tight end position this week, Kelce is projected to go in the first round, but for good reason, because he's a guy who we've seen the last couple of weeks get 20 plus points, and honestly the Chiefs offense hasn't even looked great doing it. It's like if this Chiefs offense clicks, and Kelce is also a Chargers killer. Last year, he absolutely buried them in the one night game. I think he had two really good games, both games, but he had like a 3 or 4 touchdown game, the one night game. So if he has that kind of 28, 30 plus point game, and no other tight end even sniffs 20 points, he is absolutely crushing every other tight end by a mile. And where even if a running back goes off like a Mostert, I think outscored Kyren Williams by like about 10 points last week. That's significant, but I mean, Kelce could literally double
the next tight end. Yeah. And again, we're not saying massive. Kelce definitely will, or Kupp definitely will. We're just saying these are things to consider, that if you see spots that could be a leverage of okay, I think this guy could lap the field. I really want to target him. And again, based on ADP, make your own rankings. Basically, when you're going into a given draft, make your own rankings going in. Don't, go to
and just a perfect example of that is last week, and for obvious good reason, Christian McCaffrey was ranked 1-1 and the top running back by a mile. It was a tough spot no matter what. And even if he didn't get injured, he might have ended up with a solid game, but he wasn't going to come close to Mostert's game. He wasn't going to probably come close to Kyren Williams or ETN or even a few other backs. So, that was always going to be a tough slate for him. And I ran a couple drafts and I had chances to take him at 1-1 or 1-2 multiple times, and I just never did. I'm not running 150. And sure, if I was running 150, I would take him, just to have that exposure. But it's just like when you see a guy who is just the spot's just not there, you don't have to take it just because ADP says you should.
Right.
Is the overall point.
All right. Now I think people should just watch us do a live one, because when you watch, you'll see how fast it goes, how fun it is. And so you ready to do a live draft?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's bring this over and, okay. Why is it saying location I'm allowed to do? Okay. You talk more while I figure this out. So I have no idea. My location is fine. Steve, do you have to do a certain thing, is it like turning on cookies or something?
No, never had to do anything. Maybe try and go out and exit out and come back in.
Let me get out of Underdog entirely.
But with Underdog, these drafts, just looking at where the rankings are right now, because that is the one nice thing with Underdog. You can look at the rankings ahead of time and see where things are, and you see NFL main slate week 7.
I'm in. I'm going to bring it over now. Sorry, I just had to go out of Underdog. Tech stuff is so fun. Okay. All right. So we're waiting on one person. We're in. And again, just if you did Underdog best ball drafts, again, same wonderful user experience. I got pick number 3. Again, you're in with 5 other people. So, snake draft, I have the 3rd pick. So I'm smack in the middle, basically. But it goes 6 and then it'll be coming back. So you're only doing a total. If you look at the board, you're doing a total of 33 picks, right? Or no, 36 picks. So my math is awesome today. You do a total of 36 picks. So it's starting in 42 seconds. So I'll go back and forth from the board and the draft board and everything. But as you can see, as far as rankings, the rankings based on ADP right now, kind of what we talked about, Steve, Kupp and Kelsey are 1-2. You have Kupp, Kelsey, Eckler, Diggs, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kenneth Walker. So another slate to slate thing dependent. We talked about last week. We liked getting, because we didn't like McCaffrey, we liked getting like a stud receiver, like a Kupp if we could.
Yeah.
And then taking running back. Now in this situation, if Kelsey falls, we'll take Kelsey, but then if not, then we'll have to make a decision. Okay. So Kelsey did not fall. So it went Kupp, Kelsey, to no surprise. We're on the clock. I sometimes like trying to get a stud running back, so I'm fine with Eckler.
I would take Diggs.
Okay, I like Allen. So,
I just think Kansas City's corners have been really good this year. Where Diggs is going to get up against backups, but
okay. I know Diggs has done.
The only concern is, of course, Josh Allen, but he practiced today or considered day to day. It's just sounding better, like he's trending well and all that.
You're a little more bullish on Diggs. We're right back to the Sibling Showdown debates that we had during basketball season. That's okay. May not agree on everything. I just always worried going against Bill Belichick stuff about the whole like scheming to take you out type thing. Take a guy out and I'd like to pull up actually in my DFS research for week 7, because obviously we're early. This is being taped. If you're watching it later in the week, we're taping this on a Tuesday afternoon. So again, pay attention to injury news very closely, especially when you also do drafts early in the week, because it's something to be cognizant. There is a setting, we'll talk about it right after the show, that you can set if a guy is then ruled out. But obviously then implication. But my fear with Diggs is just the whole Bill Belichick scheme out. Part of my week 7 process, I do want to look at Diggs's history against New England. So that's why I have Allen ranked to get over Diggs, but you had Diggs ranked higher, and I'm fine deferring there. So with that said, I'm back on the clock in 1. I'm not really comfortable taking Allen here with his
take Jacobs if he's there.
Injury here. Yeah, I was going to say I would love to take a running back. Okay, so Devontae went, so Jacobs is there. I just want to show people the board, those 25 seconds left. So on the board left was Puka, Metcalf, Amari Cooper right here, and then Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. So really good running backs. So yeah, I love grabbing. And then I think, Laporta was there too. His ADP is, he's someone, if we would still want to get like a tight end that could try to match Kelsey, we could, target that. That's a game I like. So we're coming back up in 2. I'm just going to target guys I like quickly.
Curious, would you consider taking Pacheco?
Yeah, I am. I'm just queuing guys up. So do you like any receivers here?
Not right here.
Okay. Yes, I love Pacheco's spot. So do you have him ranked higher than Laporta? I mean, obviously,
yeah. I think running backs actually. This is one of the thinnest running back weeks we've seen.
Yeah, that's a good. Again, context of the week matters. So the context of this week is running back is thin, and especially in this format when you're only drafting, only X amount of draft. It's not just going to be 6. There's going to be some taken in flex, some not. We took 2 running backs, but I think it is important to get 2 really solid running backs. So I like to get 2 in the first 3 rounds. So we started our draft, again, only 6 rounds. We started it with Diggs, Jacobs, Pacheco. So we have 2, 1. So our flex position is now filled, as you can see. Let's look at the board really quick to see how it played out see how quick it goes. So it went Kupp, Kelsey, Diggs, Eckler, Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra. Then second round, Kenneth Walker, Andrews, Devontae. We took Jacobs, Patrick Mahomes, Barkley, Metcalf, Watson, Pacheco, Bijan, Justin Herbert, Laporta just went. We need to decide what quarterback we may want to target. And then Allen is still there. We could obviously have someone else go in if, obviously if there's risk of him not playing or anything. I know he's considered day to day. So the question is, do you want to do Allen here or take another receiver? Since Laporta's off the board, I think we can just wait on tight end.
Yeah. I'd probably lean towards Allen if he's there. I think that makes sense.
Okay, so obviously, again, running back's literally done for us. We cannot draft any more running backs because we've drafted 2. One's running back and 1 flex. Again, no bench spots. Okay, Allen just went. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at receivers. Same guys are still there. Yeah, shit, I'm not loving this spot.
Yeah, I would take a quarterback.
Well, Goff you can get later, so it's really just I don't need to have Lamar. Do you want Lamar?
Okay. I'm fine with it, but yeah.
It's either Lamar. I'm just going to do Puka since we didn't get Kupp.
Okay.
So, I like other receivers too, but that I think can compete with, but the target share is still condensed for LA, and I think we are in a situation where we could even grab Stafford now if we wanted. Yeah. I think he's in a situation where his touchdown variance is just, and now with Kyron Williams out.
Yeah, especially, yeah.
So let's cue him up just to keep an eye on it. He's, and then once you get in this range of the 30s, it can go anywhere, by the way, because just when we said, you can reach and don't use ADP as gospel, other sharp people are going to do the same thing. So don't use it as gospel. So the question is let's see how many picks left we have. Do we just go ahead and grab Goff here and then take a tight end last? I'd say yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You're fine with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. So his touchdown variance is just not gone his way. He's getting like 1 touchdown a game, but like with Kupp back and now the target share is very much condensed to Puka and Kupp, he is very close, I think, to getting that 303 game. He just needs the touchdowns to break to get the 3 touchdowns. So if we get that and we get him, later, we still got a nice stack. This Pittsburgh pass rush is one thing, but the Pittsburgh secondary doesn't scare me. So I like having that. So basically with 1 pick left, we have Stafford with Puka, Steph Diggs, Josh Jacobs, Pacheco. So I like that. We didn't force anything. We made sure we got 2 really, really, really solid running backs. So I like where we're at. And again, if we're not getting Kelsey and Laporta, I'm fine taking tight end last. Is that kind of how you draft?
Yeah.
That's how I draft. Like if I have a high ranked tight end, like in this slate, Kelsey, in this slate, you could still do Laporta. On other slates where Kelsey's not there, Laporta would probably be one of the top ones. I'd maybe prioritize him to try to get that outlier at that onesie position. But in this slate, if we didn't get that, then I'm fine. So with that said, I'd say Kyle Pitts, Musgrave, Thomas, Freiermuth is a run back. I know he's coming back off injury. Michael Mayer he's someone I'm targeting DFS. I don't think we have to force it, but I mean, hey, if you like it, you like it. What would you go here? I just queued up 5 tight ends.
There's also Waller against Washington. Washington's given up historic numbers to tight ends so far this year.
Okay. Yeah. He's obviously is the highest ADP as far he just went.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Pitts, Musgrave, Logan Thomas, Pat Freiermuth, Mayer are the guys that I'm considering this week in DFS and would consider this week here and with my last pick.
I'd probably go Musgrave.
You'd go Musgrave over Pitts?
Yeah, I think I'd rather just target that Denver defense. I mean, Musgrave has had so many opportunities for a monster game.
Okay. I guess with Pitts, to talk about target share is so condensed. It's condensed between, I know Drake London, as you talked about, had a great game. But boy, Pitts and Jonnu Smith are just getting a ton of targets and usage. So you just like the matchup for Musgrave and then coming off the bye and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pitts could obviously be good. I think Logan Thomas has a chance to be good. I mean, Freiermuth coming back from the injury, the run back aspect is interesting, but coming back from the injury is a little less than ideal. He's the one I had ranked last out of those guys for sure.
It's
just and I do like Michael Mayer, even with the likely backup, but I just think that Denver defense, another team who's given up a lot to tight ends this year. They gave it up to Logan Thomas. They gave it up to Kyle Kmet. Obviously, Travis Kelce last Thursday. So, I mean, I think Musgrave. Packers know they need to get Musgrave involved more.
Okay. I like it. Let me read off our lineup and then we should just wrap it up. So the lineup we got from the 3rd position was Stephon Diggs. And as you can see, this is a draft board again, 6 rounds, 6 people. It goes so quick and it's so fun. It didn't put in the last person yet, but that's fine because I want to hold on the board here. So our team is Stephon Diggs from the 3rd position, Josh Jacobs in 2nd round, Pacheco in the 3rd, Puka Nacua in the 4th, Matthew Stafford in the 5th, and Luke Musgrave in the 6th. So I think you could see like how a lot of our strategies played out. We got 2 running backs. And again, you made a great point about this week. The running back position gets thin fast. And on a situation like this, it's one thing if you're going to like use it for positional optionality of pricing and stuff on DFS. But with this, you kind of want to make sure you get your guys. So we made sure we got 2 really solid running backs in Jacobs and Pacheco. We got Diggs that, as our like stud receiver. And then we got Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford back to back going against the Steelers, and like that passing game this week. And then we just waited on tight end since we couldn't get Laporta or obviously Kelsey and Laporta and got Musgrave. So I'm happy with the team. Any final thoughts, Steve? And then we can get out of here.
Yeah, no, I think this just kind of shows like, you're going to need the right run out, but I think you have 2 backs in really good spots. And obviously Diggs is, like the best usage outside of Tyreek Hill. With Justin Jefferson now being hurt. And I think it sets up very well. And like you said, that Puka Nacua Stafford combo, I think it is also a little sneaky because, um, like you're saying with Kyron Williams and Ronnie Rivers being out,
Yep.
if the
They might just throw to
touchdowns,
run, it'd be
yeah, yeah, and
the passing game is an extension of the running game, so.
and especially when they're in the red zone, and when they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, that's what they had to do. They could not run the ball
Yep.
effectively.
And that's why he was
Um,
constantly putting up 303,
yeah,
304
because they
yard
could they
touchdown
could
games.
not run inside the red zone. So he
Exactly.
had one of the most ridiculous passing touchdowns numbers in the red zone.
Yeah,
And of course, Cup's a big beneficiary to that.
sure.
But I mean, it could also be Puka, and
Yeah.
Puka goes
Well,
out
if he
there
gets 3 or
and
4,
yeah,
hopefully Puka's at
and
least one of them.
and this is the thing with half point, DFS is, Cup. You and I both agree is going to lead in targets, but what if Puka, isn't that far behind, but ends up with 2 touchdowns and
Yeah,
Cup only has one?
exactly.
Like
Especially
their
on
points
here.
might end up very close, or maybe
Yeah.
Puka, slightly edging them out. So
Right. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. So, and also one thing to consider, just to mention, we won't go deep diving on this, but maybe we'll talk about this more in our next show because we are going to do this show every single Tuesday or early on in the week. Is you can set if you draft a guy that you realize later in the week is questionable, sometimes, and they pop up on the injury report. Oh no, it's okay. You can go into the settings and we can are you able to quickly explain that? I don't want to make this a lot longer.
yeah, you can put they call it a can't remember the terminology that they use, but basically a list of players.
Where do you do it? Just let's quickly show where.
I haven't had to do it for the last couple of weeks because I haven't drafted anyone
That was
that was
questionable.
risky. But you go under it's your teams once you've drafted.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's under
and
the settings once you have the completed teams, and then it's a
yeah,
swap out option. So it'll
yeah,
show actually I think it's under so drafts active completed swap. There it is.
yeah,
Easy.
swap rank.
Easy game. So go to drafts, completed, swap rankings, and then you can just set rankings for, okay, if this guy's out, then it can go there. So
Yeah.
anyways, we went 32 minutes talking about the Battle Royale for this week, but we did a lot of since it's our first Battle Royale show, where we think there are edges, our strategies, where, explaining the format, and obviously then the nuances that we think are interesting for week 7. So we hope you enjoy Battle Royale. Again, use code Underdog or FanSpeak on Underdog for 100% deposit bonus. If you're new to Underdog, check it out, Battle Royale. I promise you will be happy. It's so fun. As you see, it's so quick. In future shows where we don't talk as much the setting it all up, maybe we can rip a couple drafts because this is so fun and we love it. We hope you guys do too. Check out Steve's article every Wednesday. Check out this show every Tuesday. Subscribe to the FanSpeak Network and check out all our content on fanspeak.com. So thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.